Like, do you think they're ever going to make it easy on us? No, never. They're going to win the Stanley Cup one year, and we're still going to be sulking during the parade. Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Rangers, and I'm here to talk about Game 36 of the regular season, where the Rangers lose 6-1 to the Carolina Hurricanes in probably the worst game of the year. There's no two ways about it. This game, along with the Nashville game from the first week of the year, can sit very, very comfortably together. Just miserable. Miserable. This is nowhere near the Panthers game, where I thought the Rangers played a pretty uninterested game and only ended up losing by 1. The Rangers were checked out from the minute the puck dropped. Just so out of it. Like they had other places to be. And it sucks, because it's coming off of a game where you dominate Tampa into the dirt. You just run their show and run them off the ice in Tampa. And it's frustrating because it's so easy to get caught up in this debate, that debate, the question of, oh, are they frauds? Even though there is just so much overwhelming evidence that they're not. You can take a look at the games that were supposed to be the high-key matchups. They beat Boston both times they faced them. They've already beaten the Hurricanes this year. When they played the Devils, they ran them into the dirt. When they play Washington, who Washington is second in the division, or third in the division, excuse me, but they're in a playoff spot. Like, they're right there. They ran them into the dirt literally last week. They played 4 teams that are all either in a playoff spot or like right on the edge of a playoff spot. And they won 2 of them by 4 goals. They lost 1 by a goal, and they lose this game to Carolina. But the narrative is they can't beat good teams. And it's annoying because it's very clear that they can. But this game, that's the past. We're talking about this game in particular. They did not care. They existed. They existed on the ice. The goal for the Rangers was good. Kreider a few minutes into the second period. And then, like, 2 minutes after the Kreider goal, where he deflects it in, because of course he does. He's almost at 20, by the way. Kreider is probably going to have another 40-goal campaign. Like, very, very likely going to have another 40-goal campaign. Chris Kreider had already cemented himself as one of the best Rangers in franchise history. And then, in the past 3 seasons, has decided, what if I wasn't content being the best, one of the best Rangers? What if I wanted to be the best Ranger forward of all time? And then has gone on a tear where he is now on pace to make that a genuine conversation when he hangs up the skates for the final time. And the number 20 is skyrocketed into the rafters of Madison Square Garden. Because after that goal, the Martinook goal, Shesterkin and Schneider get tangled up. I would like Igor to just not play the puck and just let it go to a player who normally plays the puck in Schneider, but he doesn't. And they're both to blame for this goal because, yes, Shesterkin, I'd love you to just not play the goal, and he confuses Schneider. Here's the issue with Brendan Schneider on the play. If you're not going to take the puck from the goaltender, cover a player. That's sort of the low-hanging fruit there. If you're not going to play offense and take the puck, play defense. He doesn't. Martinook gets a goal. It's 3-1, and the Rangers just left. They did not come back onto the ice in between their ears for the third period. The Canes get 3 more in rapid succession, the first 2, and it was 5-1 before you blinked. And then you did get the irony of the final goal being assisted on by Brady Shea and Brendan Lemieux, with Michael Bunting finishing it. Checked out. One of the worst performances of the year for the New York Rangers. There's no polite way to put it. And it's unfortunate because that would have been a great way. That would have been a great win. Would have been a great way to really put an exclamation point on it, but they can't. They instead give a awful performance after having a fantastic game that should have been momentum to build off of, where the offense rolls. The defense, I understand they gave up a bunch of shots. I thought they played pretty well, and Shesterkin had probably his best game of the season. And I talk about not being mentally there. This number, for me, is what totally does it. I want to say the Rangers had like 24 shots blocked by defensemen in the game against Tampa. They had 9 tonight. They weren't there. They weren't there. And to this point, the Rangers, here is the good news and the bad news. The Rangers this year have done a really good job of when they have these games, because there's been a few of them. They're not often, but a few of these games where they just look awful. They look like they did not intend to show up to the rink, and they were just there because they had to be. It was a game on the schedule. They follow those up, usually, with very dominating wins. You're going to get a really good chance to have another dominating win because you're going to play the Blackhawks on Thursday. So that's the good news. The good news is they very, very often, almost always, I can't remember the last time the Rangers lost back-to-back games. You're getting to the point now of the season. This was game 36. Game 40 is not too far off into the distance. And when you hit game 40, when you hit that halfway mark, that's when hot streaks are no longer a thing. Hot streaks might have propelled you to have a good start to the season. But now, if you're still good and still in contention for a playoff spot, it's because you're good. Because the teams that didn't start off on hot streaks but are really good have now built themselves up to be in that conversation. The Rangers did not just get lucky to start the year. They have been one of the best teams in the NHL through all 36 games. And they have earned a spot. They have earned the right to be second in the NHL in points, only behind Boston, who they've beaten twice. But now you're getting to that point of the season. Every game you have to start thinking about, at least in the back of your mind, it has to start creeping up. How is the playoff seeding going to look? How is this matchup going to affect this? You've really got to start thinking about the playoffs because you are still forever away from them. You are 36 games into 82. There are still over 40 games left. Just a hair less than 50. You've got to start mentally thinking about the playoffs. And these games where the effort is not there whatsoever, where it's just another game on the schedule, has got to die. You've got to start making these even less common than they already are. Because I've praised Peter Laviolette's ability to turn it around following those big bad losses where it looks awful, but now you've got to get to the point where those losses just aren't showing up in the first place. There aren't games like this to begin with. From the onset, you run the other team into the dirt because you are mentally tougher and you mentally want the points more than they do. That's the point of the season that we are beginning to approach. Because when I talked about it in the podcast with Evan that I just recorded, granted last season did not go all that well. But the previous playoff run in which you end up in the conference final, the 21-22 playoff run, you were outstanding at home. Outstanding at home. That was how you got there. You won, I want to say, all 3 games against Carolina at home. You won the first 2 against Tampa at home. And you won 3 of the 4 against the Penguins at home. Now is the time where it's really, really important to think about home ice advantage. And as it stands right now, the playoffs happen right this second. Your first round is going to be against the Islanders, and your second round would be either against... I want to find it real quick. The Islanders just moved up. How about that? It would be either against... Now the first round would be against Philly, and your second round would be either against the Islanders or the Hurricanes. If you end up playing Philly in the first round, Philadelphia is not the most talented team, but by God, are they going to find a way to push you to the max? That series could very, very likely end up going 7. If you play the Canes, obviously, you play hard against them, they play hard against you, but especially if you play the Islanders, there is no reality. I don't care how boring the Islanders play. That series, without a doubt in my mind, is going 7 because those two teams hate each other. Home ice is going to be real important when you get around to the playoffs coming up here. And the mindset has got to be that you want the first 2 tone-setting games and the Game 7 in Madison Square Garden. And you've got to mentally get up for every game once you hit Game 4. You got a few more games where I'm not going to totally get pissed off. But as soon as you get to that first Washington game of that back-to-back later this month, got to be there. Got to be mentally ready from the first puck drop to the final buzzer of the game. You've got to be mentally there. You can rebound Thursday. You're getting it's an NHL team, which means they are one of the 32 best teams in the world, but you are playing one of the worst teams in the NHL in the Chicago Blackhawks, which is basically Connor Bedard and 18 other players. Please don't make me look like an overconfident idiot for saying that. That game is Thursday in Madison Square Garden at 7 o'clock, and I will be here afterwards to talk about it. But as for right now, that is all I have to say. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider to like and subscribe. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day, and as always, go Rangers.